Open the Township of Hamilton Committee meeting for Monday, August 19, 2009. Would you please rise for the flag salute?
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Take your time.
Good. Okay.
Roger, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been
Thank you.
provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City on January the 10th, 2019, and the Atlantic County Record on January the 16th, 2019.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mr. Kurtz?
Present.
Mrs. Link? Mr. Silva?
Here.
Mayor Schenker?
Here. Can we have a moment of silence for private reflection? Thank you. We have a couple guest presentation. Jeff Day, Resource Renewal LLC, update on landfill closure.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me. Just give a quick update and answer any questions you have. Ingrid asked me to come in. I think, as you know, we're in the process of securing our first remedial action portion grant funding from HDSRF. Governing body passed a resolution approving the approval of the grant approval letter. That's back at the EDA now. We're waiting for the grant closing documents. So that's part of the process. When those documents come in, work with Mike and Ingrid and the governing body to process those. There's 2 more resolutions you have to include in that. So I'll be back to explain those and give you a more detailed update. We are meeting with our engineers beginning of next month after the holiday to start the process of implementing the scope of work of that grant, which is all the planning, engineering design, and permitting to get the landfill closure fully permitted. So that's with the state and with the Finance Commission. It'll be a development application. Obviously, we would come in for to the planning board as you see fit when it's appropriate time, probably after we get those approvals in place.
What's your best estimated time when you can see it finally closed?
I think
Realistically?
realistically, we should be finished next year, by the end of the year. The construction sequence for the closure is 6 months. And I'm hoping it's going to be sooner. That's what we have right now. That's a pretty long time. One of the things we're going to be working on this design phase diligently is reducing the scope, reducing the budget, making it as efficient as possible, because it's pretty tight with the grant monies and the solar revenue right now. But that's another thing we'll be evaluating. The end of this, as we go through the design period here, we're going to also be meeting with the HDSRF folks at DEP and EDA about the funding for next year, which would be the actual construction funding. 75% grant for the construction
Look
funding.
at where we're at and how long you've been at it and we've been at it.
Oh, yep.
It's been a long process.
It has been a very long process.
And they don't move too quick, do they?
They don't. They will move quicker in this instance than perhaps the Pinelands, but we'll see where that goes. We're ready for them. They'll be one of the first things that we approach with the remedial investigation data, which really shows that how clean the landfill is, the groundwater beneath the landfill, and that's what their concern focuses on at the Pineland Commission relative to approving our cap design. So,
Is all the testing finally finished now?
testing's finished, yes. All the
So we're
testing's
beyond that.
been finished for a while. There'll be groundwater you guys do groundwater sampling anyway, but there'll be additional sampling we do as part of our monitoring going forward. The monitoring you're doing now will stop. It'll be replaced with the post-closure monitoring, and that happens for the rest of 30 years, okay, at least. And that just, you do inspections, make sure the cap's still in place, and then groundwater monitoring just to make sure nothing's comes out that, is unexpected. But that's routine stuff, and that's budgeted for in the financial plan for the landfill closure, so.
Sounds positive.
Good, thank you.
Get us there.
Okay, we'll keep, you're gonna see a lot of me between now and the end of the year. I gotta come back for that. We'll be in with additional updates. We probably have some updates, maybe even to the redevelopment plan as we move from that into the final phases. We'll be working with Citizens Energy on the lease for their portion, and they'll probably want you guys to sign off on that just as an owner of the property. So you'll be seeing a lot of me between now and the end of the year, I'm sure.
Good.
Very good.
Okay?
Anybody else have any questions?
I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you, no problem.
Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks, Andrew. I'll be in touch. Thanks.
Move on to item B, Paul Miola, Atlantic County Municipal Joint Fund, Joint Insurance Fund. Hi, Paul.
Good evening. May I have permission to distribute these?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
One for Judy. Well, thank you for giving me some time in your agenda this evening. I want to thank you for renewing your membership in the Joint Insurance Fund. And I just want to tell you a little bit about how we're doing as a joint insurance fund, some of the things that we're working on, and some of the value that the Joint Insurance Fund offers to Hamilton Township. If you look at page 3, I talk about the JIF success. As you know, shared services is top priority here in New Jersey, and we were way ahead of that back in the mid-'80s. We decided that we would enter into interlocal agreements with other municipalities and the surrounding area to collectively insure ourselves for the fire liability and workers' compensation, and certainly the JIF remains the most successful example of interlocal cooperation in New Jersey's history. What we set out to do back in the mid-'80s was to provide affordable coverage to members, because at that time insurance companies were canceling policies and jacking up rates pretty significantly. And along the way, what we've learned is that by developing superior programs, we could help control the claims that municipalities were having, and we've achieved significant financial stability and strength. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bottom of page 3, it's estimated that these JIFs here in New Jersey have saved New Jersey taxpayers over $1.3 billion. If you look at page 4, I talk about our local history, 32 years since 1987. Currently surplus in excess of $26 million, over $48 million of cash on hand. That's to let you know that we've got the financial resources to pay your claims when they do occur. And if you look at page 5, the JIF dividends is a very unique feature. Unlike insurance companies, every penny that is not paid out on claims or expenses of the JIF is returned to its members. And the Atlantic JIF has returned over $37 million to its members since inception. This past year, $3.25 million was returned, or looking at about the same amount this year. And Hamilton Township, since he joined in 1990, has received $1,532,000 in dividends, including $125,000 this year, which is about 12.5% of your annual premium. If you look at page 6, I talk about loss funding. That's the money we put in the budget to pay claims. The actuary says this is how much money you're going to need, looking at historical events and what is to come. And you can see over the past several years we've had a continuous decline in loss funding. The blip on 2018 is the fact that we increased our self-insured retention, the amount of money that we keep in-house to pay claims. We bumped that from $300,000 to $500,000, so we put more money in the budget for that, but the overall budget that year still went down. If you look at page 7, it talks about your loss ratio. I like to think of as a loss ratio should be more like a golf score, not my golf score, but a good golf score as opposed to a bowling score. And you see you've had a couple of blips here, and we do provide the claims information to you on a quarterly basis so that you know what claims you've had. If you look at page 8, I talk about your loss funding, the amount of money that you've had to put in the budget since your last renewal. That's dropped about 4% since your last renewal. And if you look at your assessment on page 9, that's dropped also close to 4% since your last renewal. So we have been able to keep a lid on the JIF program expenses and the members' premiums. Looking at page 10, you can see that we've had a significant spike in the dividends that we've paid out to Hamilton Township. Back in 2014, a dividend was only $23,726, and that's jumped all the way up to $125,254 this year. And then if you look at page 11, I talk about how we are so cost effective. And number one, it's our low overhead. We run the entire joint insurance fund on 12 cents on the dollar. I mean, that's to pay our claims adjusters, to pay our attorney, to pay the loss control people, to pay the actuaries, to pay all the services and programs provided by the joint insurance fund. When you look at an insurance company, they're running their insurance company on about 32 to 35 cents on the dollar, so we have a significant advantage there. We also have medical cost control. We try and work with the best doctors and service providers in the area because we recognize that if we take good care of injuries up front, it's going to save us money in the long run. Very strong litigation management programs. We use local attorneys here to defend our cases who know the venue and know the plaintiff's counsel. And then our member-specific safety programs, the wellness program, our claims management, and our risk management programs. Bottom of page 11, very important. There's no drive for profits. We're not run by Wall Street. We are owned by the member municipalities in the JIF. There's no tax loadings. Because we're a quasi-public agency under Title 40A, we pay no taxes. And there's also no residual market costs. What that means is we don't pay to bail out the assigned risk plan for workers' comp and automobile like insurance companies do. So that even gives us a stronger advantage over insurance companies. Page 12, I talk about the member involvement that gives local control to the towns. The decisions are driven by the members themselves through their own committees. They have monthly peer meetings where we sit and discuss things that are going on that affect members' risks. That provides built-in networking opportunities where towns can collaborate and talk to one another about how they're applying the JIF principles in their own town. And most importantly, all the members of the JIF are committed to loss prevention and safety. And that's important when you know that all your money is going into one pot to pay claims. You want to make sure that everybody is paying attention. And page 13 just lists all your neighbors who are in the joint insurance fund with you. And as I mentioned, they're all dedicated to managing risk. We turn to page 14 to mention the fact that risk management starts here. It starts in council chambers. It starts with the mayor and council, your staff, your administration, and your risk management consultant. But really the direction comes from up top. It's you letting your people know how important it is to have a safe work environment and to make sure that we manage our claims when they do occur. Your local risk management team on page 15, Lisa Marcolangelo is your safety coordinator. She serves as a liaison between Hamilton Township and our safety director. She chairs your safety committee. She makes sure that all the safety training is taken care of in town. And when the safety information comes out, she makes sure that it gets distributed to the appropriate parties. Mary Kelly is your claims coordinator. When something happens, somebody gets hurt on the job or a lawsuit paper comes in, she's got the forms, she maintains the records, she stays on top of those, makes sure that the claims are reported and monitored, and she also relays information between the township and the claims adjusters. Ingrid Perez serves as your fund commissioner. She's the chair of the fund this year. She's your representative to the joint insurance fund. She serves on boards and committees. She monitors your participation. She protects your interests when votes are taken. She looks to see what impact it may have on Hamilton Township. And then Dennis Brown, who's here this evening. Dennis is your risk management consultant. He's not an insurance agent. He's not an agent of the JIF. He and his team are basically contracted to Hamilton Township to provide services to you and insurance guidance. Page 16, I'm talking about some of our key areas in helping you manage risk. Employment practices liability, public officials liability, still an area that needs our attention. We provide compliance updates to our member municipalities, sample manuals. We conduct elected officials training, employee training, and also a mail helpline that I'll discuss in a little more detail on the next page. Cyber, towns are getting hacked today. It's no secret that people do want to hack into your system and obtain information, whether it's credit card information because of people paying their bills online, or employee information with social security numbers, driver's license numbers, things like that. So several years ago, we recognized this risk was emerging. We provide coverage for you for these events and resources, online training, vulnerability assessments, phishing exercises, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then our wellness program. We recognize that wellness plays a very important role in workers' compensation. We provide newsletters. Our wellness director comes around, works with your town to help implement your own wellness programs, and you even have a wellness incentive allowance to work with. So let's look at page 17. What's new with the employment practices liability area? Well, we have a new employment practices helpline. Your representative can pick up the phone, speak to an attorney about an issue that might be brewing, maybe want some guidance or advice on a particular situation. Maybe somebody's asking for an accommodation under ADA. They want to talk it over with somebody. They can pick up the phone. They can have that discussion. They might be directed towards a specialist in this area or someone who can work with your attorney on these matters. If you look at page 18, we developed a cyber risk management program. It's been distributed to all the members. There's 2 standards for compliance with that program. Basically, there's a $10,000 deductible with this coverage, but if you comply with Tier 1, which is to get some very basic cyber hygiene in place, you'll have a $5,000 reimbursement of your deductible. If you move up to Tier 2, your deductible will be reduced by $7,500. And basically, if you look at the bottom of page 18, attackers have found a playbook that's working. They continue to target smaller governments until they find some that are vulnerable and willing to pay. And I want you to know that in the area of cyber, what we have set out to do is we have online training for your employees. About 60% of your employees have already taken the training. We are doing phishing exercises where we're sending emails to your employees hoping that they will open it up and learn a lesson that this is not something you should click on or open. So if they do, they're given a short lesson on, look, you need to roll over your cursor over the name of the person sending it to you, or you need to know who's sending you an attachment before you open it. So these are very effective, and we're also conducting attacks on your system. Yes, sir.
Is this 60% of Hamilton Township employees?
Yes. Yes, sir. And we're still working to get your police agency on board. We also have some specialized training for your police. So yeah, the pinging of your network is something that's ongoing. We're looking for vulnerabilities that hackers might find, and then sending you suggestions on how to close those loopholes. Page 19, I talk about the wellness program. Studies have shown that healthy employees are less likely to get hurt on the job. They're likely to recover more quickly. So again, our wellness director is out making visits to you and helping you establish your own wellness program. Page 20, I'd just like to show you, aside from the fact that it's the right thing to do for your people, that we want them to live good, healthy lives without, comorbidities that might cause them some suffering. It also does pay. And if you look at page 20, you'll see we have 2 employees, same injury, same age, left rotator cuff tear. Employee on the left is obese and a smoker, was out of work for 20 weeks. Total cost of that claim, $105,000. We find that quite often doctors will not operate on employees until they quit smoking, or perhaps they have a comorbidity, maybe diabetes or obesity, that is going to prolong the recovery of that employee. Employee on the right, healthy weight, non-smoker, was only out of work for 8 weeks. Total cost of that claim, $61,000. And we've seen this time and again when these comorbidities do interfere with the healing time of an employee. So what's coming down the road? We look at page 22. We relaunched our tenant users liability insurance program. Basically, this program, if somebody's coming in to use one of your municipal facilities, they don't have their own insurance, it allows them to go online, use a credit card, they can get a one-day policy for about $60 or $70. It gives them $1 million of liability protection. It automatically names Hamilton Township as an additional insured, and they can cancel up until midnight the day before the event. So it's very, very easy and simple to use. We put some brochures out there on our website. I know that Ingrid is familiar with the program. And also, we just updated the certificate of insurance guidelines. Our attorney is giving them a final review right now. But these are recommendations for coverage for different types of projects that might be going on. You have painters coming in or road contractors. It also includes model indemnification, defense, and hold harmless language that you can use in your own contracts here. What's coming down the road? We've just finished preparing some land use training for your land use board members. We see on a statewide basis that there are a lot of issues that it seem to be popping up here and there with people denying land use variances, which may be a violation of civil rights. For example, the Religious and Land Use Protection Act might be violated. So we're doing some online training for that. And also the recent legislation that was passed for the sexual abuse and molestation. As we know, the statute of limitations for making claims has changed, so we're putting some very specific programs in place for that area. It should be comforting for you to know they have opened up the statute of limitations, but you've been in the JIF since 1990. We have provided this coverage since 1990, so if there was an occurrence in the past, we will certainly step in to protect you. And we also have copies of your insurance policies from the year you joined the JIF, so that if it's an older claim, you could go back against those insurance companies as well. I want to thank you very much for having me here this evening. Inside the back cover, you'll see there's an article there about a cyber attack that occurred on a municipality just this past spring. And also, this handout has some detailed information about the Joint Insurance Fund. You may want to just take a look through it and see some of the highlights that we have in here for you. Be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Yeah, the
Yes, sir.
tenant insurance policy you talked about, the tenant insurance
Yes.
that you talked about, that would cover a party that we contract with?
Not a contractor, but a use of facility. So let's suppose you have a community center and somebody wants to come in and have a wedding shower there or a birthday party or something like that, and you're concerned that they don't have their own homeowner's insurance, let's say. They can go online, they can just answer some quick questions, and they can get a policy. And it protects the town as well as the individual.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. Now, how have you found that the events that townships hold, either through other organizations and events, have changed the scenario over the last few years? I mean, even like at our wine festival, our police department's under a lot of new constraints to remove trash cans that you can't see into, and put water-filled barriers up to prevent vehicles from entering areas. How does that affect the JIF?
Well, you know, first of all, we know that public safety is very, very important, and your police agencies do have very specific training in the areas that you just described. But as far as the JIF is concerned, we always want to make sure that these event organizers have the proper insurance in place. And this is where your risk management consultant, Dennis Brown, and his staff come into play, because, you know, they'll review the contract or the permit form for these people who are coming in to make sure that they have proper insurance. And I'll just give you a quick story of one. There was a town in another JIF nearby over in Gloucester County that was having a circus come in. Certificate of insurance came in. We took a look at it, and description of operations was tent erection. We called the insurance agent and said, you know, this is a whole circus. He said, that's not what they told us on the application. So you have to really look at the details, and this is where Dennis and his team are very highly trained as your local insurance person to help you with issues like that. So yeah, we've seen a lot of changes over the years, for the better in many cases. We've had several cases just over the recent past where somebody got hurt at an event, and the town, sure enough, did get a certificate of insurance. they had an indemnification and hold harmless, and the JIF did not have to pay 1 penny to defend that claim or to pay the injured party because the other people had the insurance already.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions?
I have a question. We require workman's compensation insurance for the contractors that work for us. Would it be possible for a contractor to get insurance from you using a tenant?
No.
No.
No, they would have to go to their insurance agent and get a policy for workers' compensation. This tenant users liability program is only for liability coverage for people who use your facilities and don't have their own insurance.
Well, what's the, in your estimation and understanding, the liability of the township when they're hacked and a lot of the personnel information gets out there?
It's significant. There are notification requirements that you have to, for example, you may have information on people from Delaware and Pennsylvania. Each state has its own requirements. This is why the minute that, and I know that, Mike knows this and Ingrid knows this, the minute you discover that perhaps you've been hacked, you need to pick up the phone, call the hotline. We get on it immediately. We take care of all the notifications for you. We will do the forensic analysis of your system to make sure that, to see what exactly has been stolen and what needs to be done and whether information has been hacked so that members of the public have to be notified. That'll all be taken care of by the insurance program.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious. You estimated savings of 1.3 billion over the years. Just wondering how you came up with that in general.
That came through the statewide organization, the Municipal Excess Liability Joint Insurance Fund.
You think, Paul, with the amount of reserves you have and the good management, you can help the state of New Jersey get through the budget crisis that they don't know how to deal with?
I wish. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question before it leaves?
Yeah, go ahead, Harry.
Hi, Harry Rogers, 1069 Morningside Drive. My primary reason for coming tonight was to ask a question about cybersecurity. It's been in the news that towns in, well, certainly Baltimore, a town in New Jersey, and 30 towns in Texas have been hit with this ransomware. And I learned a tremendous amount from what you had to say tonight. Is there cooperation between the towns, or did you issue guidelines?
Yes.
For dealing with ransomware and backups and everything else?
Yes.
And then I guess the question to the committee, have those recommendations been incorporated for off-site backup and protection against ransomware attacks? Because that can just bring you to a complete stop and cost you a fortune.
Mike, do you know if Steve's implemented any of that?
We have some off-site, but not all of it yet.
Okay,
We're working on it.
okay.
We're issuing some updates that you'll be receiving in the next month or so.
All right, very good.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We'll move on to addition and deletions of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have a deletion
So
of
moved.
item 12-1.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings.
No one has signed up, Mayor.
We'll move all the way down to number 5. Introduction of ordinances. Public hearing will be held on September 3rd, 2019. A, ordinance 1908, 2019, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton establishing an electric and/or natural gas aggregation program. Mike, you want to give us a little background on this so everybody understands what we're talking about?
This ordinance, if approved, would have the township enter a program whereby we would hire a consultant who would go out to bid for energy supply for all of our citizens that don't opt out. And they would get it, I think they estimated between $8 and $10 at the presentation a month that they could save, but it depends on the bids.
8 to 12%, I think they said,
8 to 12%, okay.
8 to 12.
Now, this one had to do with gas also?
Yes.
We just talked about electric, but there's gas also. If electric was successful, we could move to gas if we wanted to. But the state allows both.
So this is basically the township putting in place somebody to intervene into someone's electric and/or gas bill by giving them a distributor. So Atlantic Electric and South Jersey Gas would still be the provider, would be the source, but the distributor part would go through whoever we pick.
That's my understanding, yeah.
I already have one. What happens to me?
Well, you're not affected unless you, decide you want to switch.
So it's opting in anybody who doesn't have it already?
Yeah. Unless they want to opt out.
Michael, how much work would that create for the township in-house?
I am concerned about the number of calls we're going to receive and how we're going to handle them. I'm not sure a lot of our citizens would be happy speaking to someone out of state about the issue. They're going to want to talk to you folks or us.
Right.
That's a concern I have. Yeah.
As I said, that the last time those individuals were here and made the presentation, on the surface, it looks good, but I have a hard time trying to legislate something that would put the residents in that they have to opt out. I personally would not like to see that happen, because the minute if this should go forward, give me a phone number, because I'm out of it tonight.
I have some concerns too over the opt-out procedure, but basically I understand the process. I've been in that situation of using an alternative company and to provide the service, and I just was concerned that not everybody would get the information they needed in time to do the opt-out procedure. How would they notify these folks? In other words, opting out. If you don't opt out, you're in.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that just seems like a problem.
Well, it sounds to me that you're in, and then you opt out, correct?
Yep.
I don't even know how that's legal.
We do the same. We buy our power that way as a township. We go in with a co-op that does the same thing. They have a third party that.
Yeah, but that's the township.
Yeah, that's the
That's
township.
why we're here. I'm not here to, whatever, we'll see how everybody feels about it.
How many people would be required to opt in to make this a viable, project?
I don't know the answer to
It'd be
that.
all the energy users, right, of electricity.
Well, not all of them would have to opt in. No.
And the exclusions, who would the exclusions be, Rodney? People with solar? People that
Yeah,
are
people with solar would probably.
people who are already in other
Yeah,
programs?
yeah.
Commercial is excluded as well.
Yeah,
And this only
commercial
applies
is
to
excluded,
residential,
too.
no commercial.
Just residential, yeah.
Now, how would you be notified that you were opting in or opting out of this? Is it through your bill, or?
They would send out letters to all the residents and letting them know that they.
Is that correct, Mike? Who does all this notification and all this paperwork and handles all the phone calls?
Said they would.
Well, they might send the letters and things, but I think we're gonna get phone calls. I'm not
Said there
sure.
were a couple of phone calls also. We could certainly make sure the contract makes that clear.
How would we know that this particular program is sanctioned by us compared to every other one that we receive in the mail about changing electric? How would we know?
I don't know the answer. The only thing I got was the same presentation that
They
we
did
had
try
at the
to
last
answer a
meeting.
lot of questions. The one thing that surprised me was the amount of savings was minimal. It wasn't that significant to really make a difference. And I know you would probably say any
That's what I would say.
decrease is better
It's
than
it's
none
the
at all.
equivalent of so many cents on your tax bill, so if we can save you that, that's, there's no cost, there's no, nothing you do different. Atlantic Electric still supplies the energy. There's nothing, you call Atlantic Electric if you have any problem, just like you do now.
Okay.
There are many communities that have tried it and they've been happy with it, those that have. All right, I'd like to move to move the ordinance, or not the ordinance.
Introduce the ordinance.
Introduce the ordinance.
I second it.
A motion and a second. Are there any more questions? Hearing none, I guess we do a roll call for this, I'm sorry.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
I'll pass for this group.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
No.
Mayor Shanker?
No.
Mr. Kurtz?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to go with no, even after listening to the gentleman that was here with his lengthy procedure. There were a few items that were discussed that he really didn't have a sufficient answer for, I thought. And I would say that this would need a little more discussion to clarify it better, and then possibly move ahead. So I vote no.
That's 2 yes, 3 no. Motion is defeated.
Move on to number 6, awards, bids, contracts, and change orders. A, resolution approving purchase and installation of fencing around the Lenape track football field from All Vinyl Fencing for the amount not to exceed $32,850.
I'll move that resolution.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any questions? Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
B, resolution authorizing the purchase of turnout gear from Nat Alexander Company, total not to exceed $19,166.
Mike, do you know how many, is this for all the departments?
Now, this, I believe, is just one department. We budgeted 20,000 for each department. I think this is the one that
Is
needs it right
Did it
now.
end up being 4 sets or 5?
I think 4.
4, okay.
I'll confirm that, send out an email.
Yeah, I know it was,
I'll move that resolution.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions. Rita, could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. C, resolution to award bid 2019-07 for emergency generator service and maintenance to Atlantic Switch and Generator for the amount not to exceed $50,000. Mike, for 50 grand, what are we getting?
Well, for 30 grand, $767, we're getting a monthly startup of all the generators. They run them, they make sure they service them, and I think they do that on a monthly basis. And then the difference in the price is if there's any work, then it becomes time and material for doing work on
So
them,
we're setting aside 50 just in case?
in case we have time and material work to
Now,
do.
this generator's brand new.
Yep.
So we're outside of our warranty at this point?
Not sure if
It's-
it's,
if I
probably
could,
not
it's-
completely.
It's a it's a one-year contract with 2
Extensions.
renewables, so it's a 3-year contract. It's for all the emergency generators that we have.
Oh,
Yeah.
all of them,
All
not
of
just the big one out
Oh, no,
back.
no,
Okay,
no.
I'm sorry.
Is this still under warranty, do you know? Off the top of your head, the one out back?
No.
It's not under warranty? No.
Yeah, it's had to be a year, right? Every year parts.
Mike, is the big one out back, we still having the problem where the water's laying on the top of it and possibility of it
Yes. Steve's still working on it.
I have it in my report. I was going to report on that.
Okay.
You know how many generators we're talking about? We all know the one in the back. Roughly?
Right.
Brett, do you know? Okay, just the two of them? Okay. All right, very good.
I'll move this resolution.
You have a motion?
I'll second it.
You have a second?
Did we only receive a bid from one group from,
Yes, just one bid.
and we didn't go out again for another bid?
We were kind of under an emergency situation because the contracts are about to expire. It's the same contractor that we had in 2016, and I know we were very pleased with them in 2016.
But it did go out to the public, yes.
It completely went out to,
Yeah.
it was an advertised bid.
Okay, very good. Any more questions? Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Number 7, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through E.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. Move number 8 to personnel. A, accept the resignation of John Kurtz as Class 3 Planning Board member.
Mayor, I'm sad to hear about that and even read it. I understand his reasoning in his letter. John's done a fantastic job on the planning board, the years he served on it, and I'm sure in a lot of respects they'll miss him. So I move to accept the resignation.
yeah, I'd like to thank John for his service on the planning board. I know that the meetings I went to, he did a fine job. He's very conscientious, looking out for the citizens of this town.
Is that a second?
That's the second, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I'd also like to thank John for his years of service. John's always done a good job, and I'm very sorry to hear that he's stepping down. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. B, resolution to fill planning board class 3 vacancy, 1-year term expiring 12/31/19. This is John's spot, I take it?
Yes.
Why would this be on the same meeting that he resigned? We just need to have a resolution to get somebody else, or
Well,
have anybody?
I thought I asked you.
Huh?
I thought I asked you.
No, this is the first I'm hearing of it, thanks.
Sorry about that.
He is a township committee member, though.
It's a committee, member of the committee.
All right. It's your pleasure.
I move to table it.
Made that move to table?
Yeah,
Okay,
for the next meeting, maybe?
we can. It's going to be somebody on township committee because it's a township committee position. You want to make a motion to table it?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Motion to table. All those in favor, oh, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes,
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
C, resolution appointing Adrian Mueller as part-time dispatcher for the police department at $16.24 an hour, effective 8/20/19.
So moved.
second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, Rita, can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
9, approvals. Minutes, regular meeting, 8/5/19.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. B, payroll and bills, $879,077.87.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, Rita, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Shanker?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Reports, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Mayor. One item I just want to mention, I was contacted by the chief of Mays Landing Fire Department about finding a location for one of their fire trucks when the bridge is out of service. They'd like to have a fire truck on the other side of the bridge. And right now, we're talking with a property owner on Bainbridge, Bobby Hamilton. He has a garage. So, but right now, it's just conversation at this point. But I wanted the committee to know in case it comes out publicly that
Okay.
we're looking into a spot. They want to have a fire truck on each side of the bridge.
I
They're
can
not even
understand.
firm on a date yet, are they?
No, we don't even know the date of the bridge yet. But we're just starting to look into it.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's all, Mayor.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, he would agree to this at no charge? He would agree to this at no charge?
Well, again, I haven't spoken to Bobby yet, but
Oh.
my understanding is yes. There's some insurance issues and there's some response issues that we got to talk about.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, right now, it's just a conversation.
Yes.
He's just letting us know. Mr. Solicitor.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Mr. Engineer.
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I have a few items. The first on my memo is Tavistock. Last week, I met with Lou DeChico, the president of the Homeowners Association, and we talked about the $46,000 available to him, and that $46,000 represents the money left over above our contract for the paving to take us to that $650,000. So Lou, when I walked around, indicated he'd like to fence one more basin at Tavistock. He would like to improve on some landscaping, the aesthetics at the entranceway, and as I think Roger mentioned last committee meeting, maybe look to do some additional paving if we have some money in Tavistock. So talked to Bob Sandman today. He said, put it in writing, send a letter to Mr. Sandman, and Bob will review and give Tavistock and me some direction where to go with this $46,000, but that's forthcoming. Next item is the Cotton Mill Bridge and Old Egg Harbor Bridge. The Old Egg Harbor Bridge is, they have a situation there. When they remove the decking, there are 10 piles that are deteriorated, and that's why they haven't been able to continue with that bridge. They've solicited emergency contracts from pile driving companies. They've only received one bid. As of Friday, they're waiting for 2 more bids. What this is doing, it is delaying the project to some point in time beyond the start of school. I asked the county engineer the question, if they were to enact a contract pretty quickly, what are we looking at? And they said 2 to 3 weeks for the pile driving. So this project's going to go well into September. Can't tell you how far, but I talk to the county engineer every week. But it will extend in beyond the start of school.
I have a question on that, Steve. I know this is a county project that severely affects the township and the residents. Roger and I were out at the site right after they announced that they were going to replace the piling. What I've never seen a report of or know how it happened is there's a significant amount of new lumber bolted through the pilings that they are going to take out. I don't understand that. How do they put a lot of money in that and time into bolting new lumber to those pilings only to find out that they're going to replace them?
That's a good question, because I asked that same question. Their intent is to drive piling, sister piling, right alongside the pilings that are
So
deteriorating.
to leave those
Leave those
existing
members
ones.
and bolt them through. The other question I asked the county engineer is, I think, Roger, you asked me this question, John, you did too, about what about some of the trees and limbs and debris that are,
I
and they
did.
said, well, they're concerned about, the limits of their permits, and I said, dead trees could be removed as standard maintenance. So they're gonna hopefully look into that, and I'll keep asking that question. There are some dead trees on either side of that bridge that need to be removed.
Wonder if
Is
they
there a
can-
water problem? I was told by a citizen that there is a water problem right adjacent to that bridge. Is there anything that can be done with that?
Water problem regarding flow?
Not right adjacent to the bridge, but further back, they're getting flooded.
I will take a look at that.
Okay.
I know there's two houses that are closest to the bridge.
Uh-huh.
I know one of the owners. I will investigate that.
Yeah.
What happens if they don't get two more bids?
They would, for emergency reasons, they would go with the first bid.
It's a timeline. So have they spoken to the schools yet? Let them know that their buses can't run through there?
I will place a call tomorrow and let them know that they have an obligation to let both school boards know.
Okay.
Okay. Three school boards, you're right.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you
Okay.
for your comments.
Okay. Cotton Mill Bridge. The county emailed me a set of plans. I now have a set of plans. The status of right now is that their plans and specifications are being reviewed by their legal department. Once the legal department approves the plans and the specs, then it will go out to bid. It's pushing the start date well past the November 1st start date that I spoke about 2 weeks ago. One of the reasons I have a set of plans, I've received some calls from some neighbors. I'm just trying to get myself up to speed to answer questions like emergency access and traffic control questions that I've been getting. So I'll continue to keep the committee up to speed on what I hear from the county, and I'll check with them. They have a meeting every Tuesday. The best time for me to call is Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning when they have the latest information. But the project seems to be on a path of being delayed a little bit longer.
Steve, does that mean that it looks like we might be able to get the Halloween parade in using the same plans that we always have?
No change to that. Yes, we will be able to do the Halloween parade.
Steve, last meeting, the mayor asked a question about the concern of the longer and longer this thing gets pushed back. They have a window there that they're working on, right?
There's a window, and if
Do we
they-
know when that window shuts on them?
You know what, I have those dates written down. I don't have them off the top of my head. I don't want to report wrong, but it's.
But there's always the possibility that this thing wouldn't get started this year.
My plan is to invite the county back here at some point.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, I want them to answer
Yeah,
the
little
hard
more-
questions
little more
directly, but we're
informative.
losing, pardon me?
Little more information that's more accurate, and that they know what's going on. Because they haven't even gone out to bid yet.
They
so-
haven't gone out to bid.
Their plans still include doing the transfer bridge, the bridge for the utilities first?
I asked that question, and they said there's an alternate in the bid package. And I haven't read the specifications, but they're hoping to do it all as one bid, but they said they may split the two projects. They may split the utility bridge portion of this out from the original
And the
contract.
utility bridge portion would be number one.
It would be number
the
one.
first part before they would move into that. And it looks like the utility bridge portion is pushed past into November also, the whole
Oh,
project.
it is, the whole
Okay.
project.
All right.
What I'd like to do is just keep in close communication, but at some point in the near future, I think I will invite them to come back. And maybe like a full accompaniment, not just the county engineer, maybe have their design engineer, so we could really get a lot of questions answered.
Can they still utilize that utility bridge? Can it be used, or is it something that nobody can go over, really?
Just strictly for utilities.
Yeah, okay.
It looks to me like that's all they're gonna get done this year,
It looks to me that that's the case.
and then they'll start this project July 1st of 2020.
That's my take on it, but I don't want to say,
Darrell?
If that's the case, I mean, they can come in and give us all the details, but, I mean, their window's closing quick.
it is.
I thought their window was tight when they told me October, and now they're into November, and what's the bid length? When they put it out the bid, is it 30 days?
It's got to be 30 days on major projects.
Yep. Okay,
And by the time they get a contract signed, it's not going to happen this year.
yeah, okay.
Is there any point at going to a freeholders meeting and getting additional information? That's just not
I mean,
discussed there.
we could, if any of us want to go to, I just want to bring, I'm thinking we bring the county directly here, those that are designing.
It's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Chances are you'd get more residents coming to the meeting here with their concerns.
Yes.
I would I'd like to, I'm all for bringing them here, but not until they have a definitive answer on where they're at. I think
agree.
they're still trying to make it happen, but it's slipping away from them quick.
I ask questions like, what about budget? You know, they have an engineer's estimate. How about
Yeah,
if
if
it
they
goes
go
over
over
that
budget,
budget?
then what do you do?
What does that
Right.
do? But once we have a few more answers and they have some definitive dates,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
will bring them here.
Does the state get involved at all, financing this bridge?
I know the state gets involved with the permitting and the review of the plans and specifications. I do not know where the money's coming from. I don't know the funding.
Okay.
Just moving quickly down to the rest of my items. You may have noticed Dollar General cleared last week next to Cousin Mario's. Just some other miscellaneous items. John mentioned the emergency generator. I spoke to Ben Gardner from Cummins Diesel. He's out of state. He's given me 2 dates next week that he would like to come. I'm going to check with Brett to make sure he's available. It'll either be Tuesday or Wednesday. And we're going to find a solution to the peeling of the epoxy that was placed on top of the generator. The other thing I just want to mention, I noticed out at Atlantic Electric, the stormwater basin seemed to have a lot of grass growing in them. So I called Ken Mosk at Atlantic Electric, and he said he'll get on it and he'll remove. You know what starts to happen there? You get a layer of silt, you get some grass. It starts to block the connector pipe from that front shallow basin that takes the water to the back. So Ken said he will be providing maintenance out there. That concludes my report, Mayor and Committee.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to Township Committee. Judy?
It has come to my attention that we have 2 conflicting activities on Saturday, the 21st. One is Art in the Park, and number 2, the Wine Festival. And it would be really great if we could make sure there's no conflicts in the future, because we want each of those to be successful. And maybe you can go to each one of them and, that'll be good. But if you're a vendor, you have to make a choice as to which one, and they're both very viable to our community. Also, I'd like to comment about our rehabilitation and redevelopment plan. We have been working with the racetrack, and I was wondering how that was coming along. Is there any movement of ideas on the racetrack for redevelopment?
I do not have any, maybe Mike does.
I don't have an update other than to say that Jim Malley's been handling that, and Palestino from our planning board.
Okay, so
working on that.
when something happens, we will be notified.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
While you're at it, the cotton mill too. Okay? Thank you.
Yes. Also, Rodney and I are going to go up to Collingswood and just check out to see how the rehabilitation process has taken place there and get a better handle on exactly what happens and how it happens. So that I would like to announce. And that's it.
Thank you, Judy. John?
I have reiterated on this, some of the information Judy had. We do have a situation where two events are scheduled on the same day. I believe the Historical Society scheduled their date first, and then the wine festival scheduled because in order not to have to renew the liquor license for date, it lasts a year, that the 29th date was chosen, the 21st date was chosen so that it would be covered under the license for a year. And that was the reason that happened. But it is unfortunate that we have two events. The Historical Society is in need of funds. It's an important part of our town. The little red schoolhouse over there where they do such a nice job of keeping track of all the old history of our town, important history, and they could use the funding. But that's what it is, so we're hoping that at least people can go to the wine fest and then visit the event in the park at the same time, or afterwards.
Get a little flask now.
Yeah, and that's really it. So I understand that tickets are on sale online for the wine festival, according to the president. He's not here tonight, but he asked me to relay that. And then the Historical Society is putting on the event in the park, Art in the Park, which is kind of high-end items, more handcrafted items rather than yard sale type items. So it should be nice. It's always a big event every year. And the other thing I have is I've had a couple residents contact me with positive information about the new company who's handling our animal control. And the stories are polite people, respond to your questions, get answers to you. And with some of the problems we've had in the past, I'm really happy to hear that department is, the animal control is working well. It's a new company. And that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Roger?
Yeah, right after the last meeting, the very next day, we had our National Night Out over at the Hamilton Mall, and it was a phenomenal turnout. I think John Ash and we came down to the Chamber of Commerce count. We estimate somewhere around 3,000 people there, and it was very well attended. That's an ideal place. It's too bad that you can't have other events there, but the macadam's so hot. But the families come from a lot of places, and they seem to like it. On Thursday, August the 15th, I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the Joan R. Brooks Recovery Center in our industrial park, and there was a great turnout. Probably somewhere, what would you say, Steve, between 75 and 100 people?
100 people.
And they look like they're looking at April of 2020 to move in. So they're making great progress there. And of course, this Saturday, I was up at the Mitzvah Car Show. A lot of old automobiles, very warm out. Fairly good crowd, and pretty much it.
Thank you, Roger. Rodney?
I had a question today, which I could ask the township directly, but thought maybe some people in the audience want an answer to this also. On the radio, or it was announced, or on TV, it was announced that there were code violations on the part of Blue Boy Farms in this area, involving the housing for the workers and the sewage and septic tanks. It mentioned that the state had come in, and then it mentioned that the township had investigated. I was wondering whether that's us, Hamilton Township, or which township. It was Hamilton they mentioned.
Yeah, it was Hamilton, I think it was in the article.
Yeah, but that's
Sure,
not
there
a
might have been
township.
another town too.
County Public Health Department.
Probably the county public health.
Well, are we involved in
Septic.
that?
No, we have blueberry farms in town.
Right.
And we have a fire official who probably, I don't know if he's inspected them yet, but we did an ordinance just a while back. To
What?
cover that. We did an ordinance a while back to cover them. So I'll have to check with him and see if he's visited them yet.
Yeah,
For
okay.
fire violations, not for septic. County does that.
Migratory workers.
Well, these were housing violations and, yeah. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, Rodney. I would just also like to commend everybody for their efforts on National Night Out. Paul, they, pass along to the police department. What a great job. It gets better and better every year. I see that there was the cooperation with the new owners from the mall. I hope it all went well. I don't really know too much about it. I tried to get a ride on that helicopter that landed there, but they wouldn't have it. I don't know why. And I also went to the Ms. Car Show, which is always a good time. A lot of people, a lot of food, a lot of nice-looking cars, but it's always hot. I mean, melt on the sidewalk hot. So it was, but it was a good time. It was a good time. Also, I just spoke to Reverend John Ash today about the 9/11 ceremony. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for people to attend this ceremony. It's a very well done, very tastefully done. And I'm very proud to be part of it this year. So that's all I have. I want to open up the floor to the public. Anybody in the public like to speak? Ms. Dix?
So I'll come to the microphone. Mr. Sandman told us that he doesn't handle 7th Street, somebody else in his office does. So Evan, I'm hoping it's you. Are you handling the 7th Street? Well, Sandman didn't give you a report to bring to everybody?
Not on that issue. I will check with him.
Disappointing, because Wayne Choice brought the topic up and he was looking for the answer. That's why I put in what I happen to know about it. Who's responsible for cleaning this room?
Pardon me?
Who's responsible to clean this room?
This room here.
That's correct.
Who's our?
Cleaning company.
Excuse me?
The cleaning company.
They need to be fired. I've been sitting in that seat the 15th of July, 2 weeks ago, now tonight. The fingernail clippings are still on the floor under the seat in front of me. When I sat here at the beginning of July, there was a bunch of fingernail clippings on the carpet. They're not there tonight, but there's paper stuck on the back of the seat. Something's wrong. It's very, if I can see it, it's obvious to whoever's not doing their job. Thank you.
Mike, can you speak with them about that, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially Mike, after they get done the court sessions, they get pretty heavy attended.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Sorry, I had.
That's okay. It's all right. Anyone else in the public have anything to say?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
A motion is second to close the public portion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're going to adjourn to executive session. We have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Any questions? All those in
Want me to
favor?
read the?
Yeah, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Rita?
Aye.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss the following matters which are exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, Santor gravel pit, Lincoln litigation resolution discussion. Be it further resolved that the governing body may reconvene in public session and confirm the results of the executive session if there is a majority consensus for action to be taken on the matter tonight. Be it further resolved that the results of the said executive session shall be made known as soon as the basis for confidentiality is no longer confidential.
Just wait till we clear the room.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second come out of executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. You want to read the resolution?
Evan's going to do it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Proposed resolution, resolve that the committee approves the proposed settlement relating to the Santor gravel pit, Lincoln general matter, in the form and substance presented by the Solicitor's Office, and delegates to the Solicitor's Office the authority to agree on an escrow agent and ensure that all persons and entities required to be parties by the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania are parties to the settlement agreement. Further resolved that upon resolution of those issues, by the Solicitor's Office, the mayor is authorized to execute the settlement agreement on behalf of the township. Further resolved that the agreement shall be made public if and when executed by all parties.
I move that resolution.
I second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. We good? Motion for adjournment is in order?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion and second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it.